Tacoma is a mid-sized city located on the shores of Puget Sound. Known for its port and industrial history, it has grown into a hub for arts, culture, and outdoor recreation. The city is home to attractions like the Museum of Glass, the Washington State History Museum, and Point Defiance Park, which features a zoo, aquarium, and miles of scenic trails. With its proximity to Mount Rainier and a strong sense of community, Tacoma provides a balance of city life and access to the Pacific Northwest's stunning landscapes. Anne Marie Burr was born on December 14, 1952 in Del Norte County, California, and was raised in a Catholic family in Tacoma, alongside her parents, Beverly and Donald, known as Bev and Don, and her three younger siblings, Julie, Greg, and Mary. Anne was described as, quote, a happy, intelligent child, somewhat shy. Beverly raised her children to naively believe that the world was a safe place, something which she deeply regretted later in life. At the time, Tacoma was described in police reports as being full of, quote, sex perverts, exhibitionists, sex oddballs, psychos, crackpots, and half-wits. Don, in particular, was not particularly trusting of his neighbours. This included a woman from across the street who had previously been committed to a mental asylum after giving birth to a mixed-race child, and another neighbour was a man known for sunbathing nude in his backyard and selling candy to children. As summer of 1961 drew to a close, Beverly began getting her four children, Anne, aged 8, Julie, aged 6, 5-year-old Greg, and 3-year-old Mary, ready for the upcoming school year. Anne was set to begin 3rd grade at Grant Elementary. Beverly's husband, Don, worked as a warehouseman at Camp Murray in Washington. The couple's children spent the day of August 30th, 1961, playing around the neighbourhood with friends. Anne had hoped to stay overnight at a friend's house, but her mother preferred that she remain at home to focus on getting ready for school. Greg and Julie, however, were allowed to sleep in the basement fort that they had constructed. Since Julie usually shared a room with Anne, Mary stayed in Anne's room that evening instead. Around 11 p.m. on August 30th, the family secured their home on 3000 block of North 14th Street for the night. Anne's father, Don, placed Barney, who was Anne's black Cocker Spaniel, on the landing near the kitchen and back door, while Beverly fastened the chain lock on the front door. One window in the living room was left slightly ajar to allow the TV antenna wires to pass through from the roof. That night, heavy rain swept through the city, bringing down trees, causing power outages, and leaving neighbourhoods in darkness. In the middle of the night, Anne took her younger sister, Mary, to their parents' room because Mary was uncomfortable due to a bothersome cast she had due to a broken arm. Beverly spoke with the girls briefly before sending them back to bed. Little did Beverly know that this would be the last time she would ever see her daughter, Anne. At 5:15 a.m. on August 31st, Beverly woke up and checked on Julie and Greg in the basement, finding them still asleep. However, when she went upstairs, she discovered Anne's bed was empty. Beverly headed to the main floor and noticed the living room window, usually left slightly open, was now fully ajar. The front door latch was undone and the door stood wide open. She went to nearby homes, knocking on doors and asking neighbours if they had seen Anne. However, unfortunately, nobody had. While checking outside, she spotted a garden stool positioned beneath the open window. Alarmed, she woke Dawn, and together they contacted the police. Julie Burr, Anne's sister, recalled to Como News, quote, I was awakened early in the morning with men shining flashlights in my face. They were the police, seeing my parents running through the kitchen, opening drawers and looking under beds, looking for my sister. I remember that it was like it happened yesterday. Numerous tips came in to investigators. According to History Link, 3 neighbours reported seeing someone watching the Burrs' windows, and Dawn and Beverly remembered hearing unusual sounds in their yard during that summer night. Additionally, police at the scene discovered a small size 6 footprint, likely from a teenage boy, on an overturned bench beneath the window and found red thread on the windowsill. Beverly told History Link, quote, "When I first saw that window open, I knew I would never see her again. I knew I would never know what happened. It came to me just like that. It was a strong feeling. When they were searching, I thought, what's the point? I knew she was gone, and we would never see her again." According to the Tacoma News Tribune, when Anne was first reported as missing, police believed her to be a possible victim of amnesia. Initial reports also stated that Anne was last seen wearing, quote, "an ankle-length blue and white nightgown," and further stated that no personal belongings were missing from her bedroom. At the time of her disappearance, she was also wearing a chain necklace adorned with a Madonna and Child medal, a St. Christopher medal, and an identification tag. The Burrs reported hearing their dog, Barney, barking on the porch during the night, but further commented that there were no other disturbances. On the morning Anne Burr was reported missing, 100 soldiers from Fort Lewis and 50 National Guard members from Camp Murray joined local police in the search effort. Divers also scoured Commencement Bay for any trace of her, but nothing was found. With no clear evidence of an abduction, the FBI provided only limited assistance. Neighbours reported hearing screams from a car with California plates that morning, but the driver later explained the sound came from the radio, not a person. On September 8, 1961, Anne's parents took polygraph tests to address rumours they were withholding information. Both were found to be truthful. Mary, who was 3 years old at the time, was unable to express whether she had witnessed anything that night due to the fact she was so young. Tacoma police conducted the largest manhunt in the city's history, questioning thousands of individuals and administering polygraph tests to hundreds. Among the primary suspects were a teenage neighbour who had shown interest in Anne and a cousin of hers who was later convicted for crimes of a sexual nature involving children. Within the first 12 days of the investigation into Anne's disappearance, over 1,500 people were questioned by police. Investigators scoured the area, including vacant lots and woodland. However, there was no sign of the 8-year-old. It was theorised that she had possibly been kidnapped. However, according to the Evening Independent, her parents were, quote, "not wealthy," and furthermore, not a likely mark for a kidnapper. A $5,000 reward was offered for anyone who could provide information to authorities that could lead to Anne Marie Burr and any potential abductors. There was a theory that perhaps Anne had been abducted in a case of mistaken identity. In Tacoma, another man named Donald Burr, an architect living in nearby Lakewood, had a daughter, Deborah, who was close in age to Anne. Unlike Anne's family, he was wealthier and had gone through a contentious divorce with Deborah's mother. This led detectives to speculate whether Deborah might have been the intended target of a potential custody dispute. Also, with there being no signs of a struggle, it was thought that if she had been abducted, the chances were that she knew her abductor. On October 31st, 1961, police questioned 31-year-old Hugh Byon Morse, a former Marine and a suspect in the 1959 murder of 9-year-old Candy Rogers in Spokane. Another individual of interest was 15-year-old Robert Bruises, a neighbour of the Burr family. Bruises had a close and playful relationship with Anne, often calling her, quote, "my girl," while she affectionately nicknamed him, quote, "Loverboy." Despite their connection, no evidence linked Bruises to Anne's disappearance. He underwent 2 polygraph tests, failing the first, attributing it to nerves, before successfully passing the second. In June of 1962, Longview Daily News published an article reporting that police were investigating a potential sighting of Anne. She was allegedly seen by a witness at a service station cafe in Portage la Prairie in Manitoba, Canada. The witness stated that he saw, quote, a blonde girl accompanied by 2 women and a man who had breakfast together at the cafe. The witness did not recognise the blonde girl until he later saw a newspaper report on Anne Burr, which included a photograph of the missing girl. The witness strongly believed that the girl in the cafe was Anne Burr and contacted the police. An operator at the service station stated, quote, the adults with the girl spoke a little too sharply with her to be her parents. She walked up to the candy counter at one point, and he asked where she was from. The girl said she was from Tacoma. The group then departed from the service station in what was thought to have been a, quote, late model Ford car, light in colour. In 1964, a Spokane auto parts salesman abducted a 10-year-old Tacoma girl, taking her on a multi-day trip through the Pacific Northwest in his Buick convertible before eventually releasing her unharmed. When the FBI tracked him down in Portland, Oregon, the man ended his life as agents arrived at his door. This individual was considered a suspect in Anne's disappearance. In 1967, Longview Daily News reported that an Oklahoma convict allegedly confessed to disposing of Anne's body in a farm pond in Staten, Oregon. However, the search turned up no leads. In 1978, notorious serial killer Ted Bundy was considered a suspect in Anne's case. On the 31st of August 1961, Ted was 14 years old and lived in Tacoma. He worked as a paperboy with a route that passed near the Burr family home. Additionally, he frequently visited his great-uncle, who lived around the corner from the Burrs, who taught music at the University of Puget Sound, located just a few blocks away. It was during these years that Ted Bundy would become known to the Tacoma authorities, where he was found guilty of being a shoplifter and a peeping Tom. The size 6 shoe print found outside the Burr family home's window did in fact match with Bundy's shoe size, and many suspect that Anne's disappearance may have in fact been Ted Bundy's first kill. However, Bundy himself denied any involvement in the 8-year-old's disappearance. Some speculate that Ted personally knew Anne, however, accounts differ on how well they knew each other, if at all. History Link revealed that Beverly and Dawn learned Ted Bundy had shared a disturbing account with investigators, claiming he had killed a young girl in an orchard. When Anne vanished, the Burr family lived adjacent to an orchard filled with apple trees and raspberry bushes. In 1986, Beverly penned a letter which was sent to Ted Bundy, suspecting him of having something to do with Anne's vanishing. Bundy replied, quote, I do not know what happened to your daughter Anne-Marie. I had nothing to do with her disappearance. You said she disappeared August 31st, 1961. At the time, I was a normal 14-year-old boy. I did not wander the streets late at night. I did not steal cars. I had absolutely no desire to harm anyone. I was just an average kid. For your sake, you really must understand this. Again and finally, I did not abduct your daughter. I had nothing to do with her disappearance. Anne's sister, Julie Burr, told Como News, quote, I haven't always thought it's Ted Bundy. There's several suspects. I think my mother and father received more than one letter from him, but he in those letters always denied it. Dawn Burr recalled encountering a suspicious young man who appeared to smirk near a ditch at the University of Puget Sound. It is not known who the man was, but some suspect that it may have been Bundy. In contrast, however, Dr. Ronald Holmes, an associate professor of criminal justice at the University of Louisville, was conducting a 2-year study on serial killers in the US when he interviewed Ted Bundy. During their conversation, Bundy allegedly confessed to stalking, strangling, and assaulting his first victim, an 8-year-old girl who had vanished from her Tacoma home 26 years earlier. Despite doubts about this account, Holmes maintains that Bundy did confess, with Bundy having, quote, stashed the body of Anne Marie Burr in a muddy pit, possibly near the University of Puget Sound. Excavations and digs at the university, however, yielded no results. In 2011, Bundy's blood was tested against trace DNA found at the Burr family home. However, according to the Huffington Post, the results were inconclusive. In July 1963, almost 2 years after Anne Burr's disappearance, her parents adopted a baby girl named Laura. The Burr family held a memorial for Anne in 1999. Donald Burr passed away in 2003 at the age of 77, and Beverly Burr died in September of 2008 at her home in Tacoma. At the time of her vanishing on the 31st of August 1961, Anne Marie Burr was 8 years old. She is a Caucasian female and stands at 4 foot 2 inches tall and weighs 35 pounds. She has blonde hair and hazel eyes and may spell her name as A-N-N-E Marie or A-N-N-Marie. There are red markings on her left hand and has malformed fingernails due to a fungal infection. She was last seen wearing a handmade, ankle-length light blue nightgown adorned with blue and white flowers, a small chain necklace featuring 2 religious medals engraved with images of Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary, and a silver identification bracelet engraved with her name, address, phone number, and the phrase, "Saint Christopher, protect us." If alive today, Anne would be in her early 70s. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Anne Marie Burr, you can contact Tacoma Police Department at 253-798-4721 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS.